The return that brought back wounds and painful memories. This thing called the return really opened up the return and made us think about the return and how it affected us all. The return was a big deal and it still hurts when we think about the return. The road back to Maplewood looked smaller than Blake Morrison remembered. It seemed like yesterday Blake Morrison was walking on this road and now it looks really small. The road back to Maplewood was something Blake Morrison thought about a lot. The trees leaned closer to the pavement. They were like they were trying to listen to something. The trees seemed to be moving in a bit. The trees were really close to the pavement now. The houses felt really quiet and old, like they were watching him come back. The houses seemed to be waiting for him to return to the houses. Blake slowed down his car as the town sign he knew well came into view, the one that said welcome to his hometown, the place where he grew up. And now the town sign was right in front of him. Blake saw the town sign and it looked pretty much the same. Maplewood is a special place. It is one of those places where everyone knows your name. 12 years ago the man had left this place with nothing but a lot of ambition and some money he had borrowed from people. He had left this place with dreams and not much else, just the money that was not really his. Now he came back as a millionaire. This is a man whose name's in all the business magazines. People think this millionaire is a successful man. The millionaire is someone that people look up to. His chest felt really tight. It was a feeling that he could not explain. His chest just felt tight. Success really did not mean anything in this place. It was a word, and the idea of success meant nothing here. The whole concept of success was not important at all, and that is what made success so meaningless, the fact that success meant nothing here. This town has a lot of memories and every single one of them has the name that is always on everyone's mind. This name. Jessica Carter. Blake parked his car in front of his grandmother's house and then he just sat there for a moment thinking about the house. The house was really old. It looked pretty much the same as it did when Blake was a kid. He liked going to his grandmother's house because it always felt like home to him. Blake remembered all the times he had at his grandmother's old house. The man saw himself in the windshield. He looked like a man who was very confident. His reflection in the windshield showed a man dressed in confidence, a man who seemed to know what he was doing. The reflection in the windshield was that of the man, a man who was dressed in confidence. Behind his eyes there was still the boy who had made a promise to a girl that he would never forget her. This boy was still there even if you could not see him at first. The boy who once looked into the eyes of this girl and said that he would always remember her was still living behind his eyes. Jessica was the important person in his life when he was growing up. Jessica was everything to him back then. His best friend. His safe place. The girl who thought he could really do it even when everyone else said he was dreaming too big. She still believed in him. When Blake left for college, Blake promised to stay close to the friends Blake had made. Blake really wanted to keep in touch with Blake's friends. Blake and the friends had become good friends and Blake did not want that to change just because Blake was going away to college. Life though had things in store for me. The calls that people made became a lot shorter. This is what happened to the calls. The calls were not as long as they used to be. People were making calls. Messages became really rare. The messages that I used to get all the time just stopped coming. It was like the messages just disappeared. And then silence took over everything. It was like the silence was all that was left. The silence just took over. He had dated women, he had traveled all around the world, and he had built a really big empire. The empire was something he had worked on for a time. He had also traveled to different places. The women he had dated were from all walks of life. He had done a lot of things like traveling and building the empire. No one had ever made him feel the way Jessica did. The things Jessica said and did just made him feel really special. Jessica had a way of doing things that no one else could do. When he was with Jessica he felt happy and excited. Jessica was the person who could make him feel this way. Inside the house his grandmother greeted him with tears and laughter. She was really happy to see him. She could not stop crying at the same time. The house felt warm and cozy when his grandmother was around. It was like the house was filled with love and happiness because of her. His grandmother was beaming with joy when she saw him. The house was filled with the sound of her tears and laughter. She said, "You are finally home," and she held his face. "I knew you would do that." That evening she brought up Jessica in a casual way. She was talking about Jessica like it was no big deal. Jessica was just a normal part of the conversation. "The woman is helping to organize my birthday party. She is doing a lot of work to make sure my birthday gathering is a lot of fun. My birthday party is going to be great because the woman is helping to organize it." Blake's heart skipped a beat. He nodded like it was no deal. Down something that had been sleeping for a very long time started to wake up inside. The night the community hall was really buzzing with excitement. People were talking and laughing. The community hall was filled with a lot of energy. The community hall had a great atmosphere. The boy who made it big was someone that everyone really wanted to see. The boy who made it big was like a superstar now. People shook Blake's hand. They were really happy to meet him. They praised Blake. They thought he was a person. People admired Blake. They liked the things he did. Blake saw none of it. Because across the room, near a table of books and decorations, stood Jessica. She looked different, like something was not quite the same about her. The way she was standing and the way she was looking at me was really different. She looked like a different person. I mean, the girl I used to know, as she was not the same girl I was looking at right now. I was thinking about what could have changed her much, and I was looking at she to see if I could figure it out. Not flashy. Not polished. Stay calm. Be grounded. These people are really beautiful in a way that money can never buy. The beauty of these people is something that you just cannot put a price on. It is the beauty of being calm, grounded, that makes them so beautiful. When the woman's eyes met the man's eyes, all the noise around them just faded away. The woman's eyes met the man's eyes and everything else was quiet. For a moment it felt like the 12 years had never gone by. It was like the 12 years were not there. The 12 years just disappeared. Blake, she said softly. Her voice was steady, but her eyes gave away how she was really feeling. Her eyes showed the emotion that her voice did not. The man said Jess, in response. He was smiling, the smile that he used to give her when she was a teenager. The people spoke nicely to each other. At first they were being very polite when they talked. About work, about town life, about his grandmother. But something was missing. There is something that is not said that hangs in the air between every word, the things that the people are saying to each other. When Blake asked her to dance, she was not sure what to do. She just stood there for a moment thinking about it. Blake was waiting for her to say yes. She hesitated, and this made her feel a little weird. She thought about dancing with Blake and what it would be like. That is when she really hesitated. Then agreed. Blake felt something in his chest as he moved slowly to the music. The music was playing and Blake was moving to it. He felt a truth settle in his chest. The man had built companies, conquered markets. The hardest thing he ever had to leave was standing right in front of him, the thing that was the hardest for him to leave behind. Later in the parking lot, Blake asked her if she wanted to have coffee with him the day so they could talk some more. Blake really wanted to spend time with her and have coffee together. He thought coffee with her the next day would be an idea. Jessica hesitated again. This time it was for a really long time. She just stood there not doing anything. It seemed like she was thinking about something. Jessica was hesitant. You could tell that she was not sure what to do next. Jessica. It was like time was standing still waiting for her to make a move. She told me that I live a life now. I stayed. Blake asked gently, does that make me better than you? The woman said no. It makes the people like us different. The thing that makes us different is really what makes the people like us special. It is the fact that it makes us different that is important to the people like us. She finally agreed to meet him at the library. This was really what he had been waiting for, the moment when she would say yes to seeing him. The library was a quiet place and he thought it was a good spot for them to talk. He was looking forward to meeting her at the library. Her face told him something was not right. Her expression warned him. There were things that she had never told him. These things were still hidden from him, the things that she had never told him. There were things that had affected her life in ways that he did not yet understand, things that had changed her life and things that had made her the person she is today, like the things that had happened to her and the things that she had experienced, things that had shaped her life. That night Blake lay awake in his childhood bedroom thinking about a lot of things. The room was really quiet. It felt very familiar to Blake. He was surrounded by stuff that reminded him of his childhood. Blake thought about the days and what it was like to be a kid in that bedroom. The bed creaked a little when Blake moved. It was the bed he slept in when he was a kid. Blake was in his childhood bedroom. It was a pretty weird feeling for him. Realizing success had not protected him from regret. And somewhere in Maplewood, Jessica Carter looked up at the ceiling in her room. She just lay there thinking about things, staring at the ceiling. The ceiling was all Jessica Carter could see as she lay in bed, wondering if opening her heart again would finally break it. The truth she never spoke. The Maplewood Public Library smelled of old paper and quiet hope. Blake arrived early, pacing between the shelves while memories pressed in from every direction. Jessica unlocked the door and stepped inside. She looked calm, but her hands trembled slightly as she set her bag down. Coffee, she said softly. Then we talk. They sat across from each other in a small office filled with books and sunlight. For a moment, neither spoke. You asked me why I stayed, Jessica finally said. And why I looked sad. Blake nodded. I felt like there was something you never told me. She looked at the window, not at him. When you left, my life didn't stop, she said. But it changed in ways I couldn't escape. Jessica told him about her mother's illness, how treatments drained their savings, how she worked 2 jobs while studying, how leaving Maplewood was never an option. I watched you rise from afar, she said. Every article, every interview. And I told myself loving you meant letting you go. Blake's chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you were building something bigger than this town, she replied. And I refused to be the reason you looked back with regret. Outside the library, whispers followed them. People noticed Blake's attention. They noticed Jessica standing beside a powerful man. Old judgments resurfaced. She never left. She wasted her life. She waited. Jessica heard it all. And she had learned to carry it quietly. That evening, Blake joined her for dinner at a small diner. Nothing fancy. Just two people trying to understand time. You don't belong here anymore, someone muttered nearby. Loud enough to hear. Blake stood ready to defend her. But Jessica placed her hand on his arm. I've faced worse alone, she said calmly. This doesn't break me. That moment changed something in him. He realized success had shielded him. But Jessica had survived without armor. Later, as they walked under the streetlights, Blake asked gently, Did you ever love anyone else? Jessica stopped walking. Her voice steady but heavy. No. Not because she waited for you, but because I learned to protect what mattered to me. Blake felt something shift inside his chest. Respect replacing guilt. Admiration replacing nostalgia. That night, Blake understood the truth. Jessica had not stayed behind. She had stood her ground. The shock that changed everything. Blake thought he understood Jessica's story. He thought sacrifice explained everything. But the truth waiting beneath the surface was far deeper than he imagined. The next morning, Blake followed Jessica back to the library. Not as a visitor, but as someone who wanted to truly see her world. Children filled the reading corner. Elderly residents chatted softly near the windows. The library was alive in a way no office building ever had been. You built all this, Blake said quietly. Jessica smiled faintly. With help, she replied. But mostly with patience. That afternoon, an older woman approached them. She held Jessica's hands tightly. If it weren't for her, the woman said to Blake, I would have lost my home. Then another person came forward. And another. Each with a story. Scholarships Jessica had organized. Food drives she led. Grants she fought for. Blake felt something heavy settle in his chest. Later, alone in the office, he asked the question he had avoided. Why are you still alone, Jess? She inhaled deeply. I promised myself something after my mother passed. She told him the part she had never told anyone. Her mother's illness had come with endless hospital visits. Pain, fear, and nights spent holding her hand. She taught me that love should never be rushed, Jessica said softly, and never given out of loneliness. Jessica had chosen to wait. Not out of fear. Not out of waiting for Blake. But out of respect for herself. I didn't want to give my heart or my body to someone who didn't see my worth, she said. So I stayed true to myself. The words hit Blake harder than any business loss ever had. He had known women who had everything. But he had never known a woman who had protected herself with such quiet strength. That evening, rumors spread through Maplewood. People whispered cruelly, She thinks she's better now. She's waiting for a rich man. Blake heard it. And this time he did not stay silent. At a town meeting meant to celebrate his return, Blake stood before everyone. He spoke calmly, firmly. You call this woman small town, he said. But she has done more for this place than anyone in this room. Silence filled the hall. You judged her for staying. But she stayed so others could stand. People lowered their eyes. That was the moment instant karma began. Offers poured in for Jessica. Grants, leadership roles, recognition. And Blake realized something humbling. She was never the girl he left behind. She was the woman who built something real while he chased success. The kind of wealth that really mattered the most was not the money in our bank accounts. The wealth that came from the people we loved and the experiences we had in our lives. The wealth that mattered most was the time we spent with our families and friends, the memories we created together, and the love we shared with each other. This is the wealth that truly made our lives rich and fulfilling, the wealth that brought us joy and happiness, and the wealth that stayed with us forever, the wealth that mattered most. The change in Maplewood did not happen overnight. It was something that took a time to develop. Maplewood went through a lot of things before it became what it is today. The people who live in Maplewood know that the change in Maplewood was a process. It all started the moment people stopped whispering to each other and started watching what was going on. People stopped whispering. They started paying attention to what was happening, and that is when things began to change. The moment people stopped whispering and started watching things around them, that is when everything started to happen. People saw Jessica walk through town with the quiet and calm way that Jessica always did. Jessica had a special way of moving that was very quiet and nice. The same calm smile. The same steady kindness. Now people look at her in a way they really do look at her differently, and it is only now that people are seeing her like this. The people asked her what she thought about this. They wanted to know her opinion. The people thanked the woman in front of everyone. The woman was thanked by them publicly. They finally saw what had been there along, the truth that the people had been missing for so long. The people were amazed because they had been looking at the thing every day, but they did not notice it until now. The truth was that the people were blind to what the thing was. Now they can see the thing for what it is, the thing that had been there all along. Blake stayed longer than Blake had planned. That was not what Blake expected to happen. Blake thought Blake would leave a lot sooner. Things did not work out that way for Blake. Days turned into weeks. Then the weeks started to feel like months. The days all seemed to blend and it was hard to keep track of time. Days turned into weeks. It was like time was just slipping away from me. For the first time in years, he stopped checking the stock prices every single hour because he was tired of always looking at the stock prices and worrying about the stock prices all the time. He did not do anything. He just sat in the library, helped children with homework. I heard stories that had nothing to do with making money. These stories were really about something. Listened to stories that had nothing to do with profit. They were more about people and things that happen in life. One evening the sun went down behind the trees. Blake and Jessica were sitting on the steps of the library. They just sat there not really doing anything, just Blake and Jessica enjoying the quiet. The library steps were a place to sit and think, and that is where Blake and Jessica were, sitting and talking a little bit. The air was quiet, honest. Blake said quietly, I thought that being successful meant I had to leave. I thought that coming back would make me feel really strong and in control. It did not. Coming back was supposed to be a deal. For me, it was supposed to make me feel powerful. Jessica looked at him gently. She had a face when she did that. Jessica's eyes were soft. Her voice was quiet when she spoke to him. The way Jessica looked at him made him feel calm and safe. She said that having power is not enough if you do not have a reason for using it. Power without something to work towards feels empty, she replied. I learned that a time ago and I still remember it to this day. The thing that I learned was really important to me. It has stuck with me for a very long time. I'm talking about the thing that I learned. I have to say that it was a big deal for me. The thing that I learned, it changed the way I think about things. It changed the way I do things too. Blake nodded. He was listening to what the other person was saying. The other person was talking and Blake was paying attention to them, so Blake nodded. I see it now. It is really clear to me that I understand the situation. With the thing that I am looking at, the thing is the problem that I was trying to figure out. Now the problem is not a problem anymore because I see it now. He offered to fund projects in Maplewood. This is really great news for the people who live in Maplewood. The projects in Maplewood will get the money they need. People in Maplewood are happy because they know that the projects in Maplewood will make their town a better place. But not in his name. In hers. When she was not sure what to do, he said something that really mattered, something that was important to the woman, and this thing he said about the situation was what mattered to her. You got this before I came back. I think you should remember that you earned this before I ever came back. The town council asked Jessica to be in charge of a program that will help the region grow and get better. They want Jessica to run this development program. The regional development program is very important to the town council. They think Jessica is the right person to lead it. She wants something that will expand her work beyond Maplewood. This is really important to her because she loves what she does in Maplewood. Expanding her work beyond Maplewood is a deal for her. People who once did not think much of her now applauded her. They were really clapping for her. The same people who did not like her before were now cheering for her. Not because of Blake's money, but because of her impact. On Blake's night in town, he stood with Jessica under the old oak tree. This was the tree where they carved their names a long time ago. They had put their initials on the tree together. The old oak tree was a place for Blake and Jessica. He reached for her hand slowly and respectfully. He said, I do not want to rush what we were too young to understand. I would really like to walk beside you. If you will let me do that, I want to walk beside you. Jessica looked at him, feeling calm and sure. She was not afraid of what he might say. Jessica just waited for him to talk to her. She said this time, only if we walk as equals, this is the way we can really move forward with the people we are talking about. The equals I am talking about, we have to be on the same level as the equals. Blake smiled. He had a smile on his face. Blake was really happy. That is the way I know how to do things now. I've gotten used to doing things this way. It is what I am comfortable with. The only way I know how now is what it is. When he left Maplewood again, it felt different. He noticed that something was not the same as before at Maplewood. The feeling he got from leaving Maplewood this time was really different from the time he left Maplewood. Not like running, not like escaping, but like carrying something real with him. Jessica watched him go without feeling any fear. She just stood there, looked at him as he walked away. She did not measure her worth by the people who stayed with her or the people who left her anymore. This was a change for the woman. She used to think that the people who stayed or left defined her worth as a person. But now she saw that her worth was not about the people around her, it was about her, the woman herself. She had made a life for herself that was about being a person, helping others and having pride in what she did, and it was all based on dignity, service and self-respect. She had a life that was really about dignity, service and self-respect. The town would remember Blake Morrison as the boy who made a lot of money. Blake Morrison was a name that people in the town would always associate with being very rich. People in the town thought of Blake Morrison as the boy who became a millionaire at an age, and that is how they would always think of Blake Morrison. People will remember Jessica Carter as the woman who stayed and changed lives. She is the one who made a difference in the lives of others. Jessica Carter is the woman who did something really good for people. And in the end, that was the wealth that mattered most.